Hello, 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 everyone. I'm super excited that you guys are here. Welcome to the Wealthy Trustee webinar. Hey, hey, hey. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight we're going to be talking about all things dealing with trust. I'm super excited that you guys are here tonight on a beautiful Friday evening. So what I'm going to do first, and I'm going to go through a short presentation, and then after the presentation I'll be able to answer any and all questions that you guys might have. Okay, so write down your questions because I don't answer them during the presentation because it kind of throws me off and slows down the presentation. So write down all your questions, and then afterwards we'll dive into Q&A. Okay, so we're gonna dive right in and get started. So allow me to share my screen here. All right. Here we go. There we are. Okay, awesome. So, quick disclaimer, this is not legal advice or tax advice. So I am not a certified public accountant or a licensed attorney. So what we're going to be learning today in this webinar is what is a trust, different strategies for wealth building, operation, taxes, who the contributors are, and how to protect your assets. So I am your host, Christina Yvette. I'm the founder of 7 Ways to Wealth. So I am a young 35-year-old mother of three. I have been a trustee since 2015. So I've been a trustee for 10 years now. And the way that I got into trusteeship was because I was actually a registered nurse. I ended up being in my field for about 8 years, and I was living paycheck to paycheck. And I knew that I had to create a second stream of income. So I ended up going to a real estate conference, and I learned a lot about how to flip houses. So 6 months after that conference, I bought my first rental property, or property that I was flipping. And with this property, my mentor told me, you need to put that property into a trust. And at that time, I was young, 25, didn't know anything about real estate, didn't know nothing about what a trust was. And so I decided to listen to him and set up a trust and transfer that property from the LLC into the trust. So that is how I got into the space of trusteeship, and I have been operating within trusteeship ever since, you guys. So what I'm going to teach you is what I have is all of the experience that I have in the last 10 years, okay? So let's just dive right in and let's learn what an actual trust entity is. So a trust is an entity just like you are an entity. It's a living, breathing entity, and it actually is what we call a contractual entity. So the way that it comes into existence is by way of a contract, and that contract is um let me see here. Okay, you guys can hear me? Can you hear
I
me
can hear
clearly?
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, awesome, awesome. All right, so a trust is a contract, and the way that this contract comes into or this trust comes into existence is through the contract. Now, the contract, one second, you guys. Sorry, I'm having some tech issues. All right, let's start again. There we go. Okay, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. Okay, so let me start from the beginning. Now, what is a trust entity, right? So a trust is an entity just like how you are an entity, okay? It is a living, breathing entity. So it's seen in society as a person, as an individual. So that means that a trust can do anything and everything that you can do. So if you can buy a house, a trust can buy a house. If you can buy a car, a trust can buy a car. If you can write a book, a trust can write a book, okay? So there's no true limitations to what a trust can do. Now, how does this entity come into existence? Well, it comes into existence by way of a contract. So it is a contractual entity, okay? And there's several different parts to this contract, and there's several different contributors to the contract. Now, with this contract, you have a declaration where you're declaring what it is that you're actually setting up in this contract. And you have your indenture where you're putting all the terms and conditions, or what we call provisions, of how you actually want the trust to be operated, okay? So I just need you to know and understand what those parts are to the contract. Now let's talk about who are the parties involved in the contract. Well, you have your grantor, which is the creator of the trust. So that is the individual who, and so sometimes when you're actually doing your research, you might see the word settlor, okay, or trustor, okay? So that's the individual who creates the trust for the benefit of someone else, okay? And usually that person is the beneficiary, okay? And then you have the trustees. So the trustees are the controllers of the trust. So the trustees are the individuals who are going to control the trust on a day-to-day basis, meaning that they are maintaining the assets that are inside of the trust. They are responsible for the trust funds. They are the individuals that we call the fiduciary, okay? And then the next party involved is the beneficiaries. So those are the inheritors of the trust. Those are the individuals or entities that are going to receive the assets that are inside of the trust once those assets, or once that trust is terminated and it's time to dissolve the trust and distribute those assets, okay? So that is what the beneficiary is. Now let's talk about the different types of trust. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you several different categories of what trusts fall under, okay? Now, there are hundreds of different types of trust. What you have to do is your due diligence to figure out the best type of trust for you, okay? So every single trust fall under these categories. The first category that I want to share with you is express versus implied. So an express trust is a written trust. That means that it's black and white and it's on contract, okay? Versus an implied trust is a verbal trust. That means that there was an oral agreement that happened between the parties that are involved, okay? Then you have the next category is simple versus complex. So a simple trust is shorter in nature, and the trustees are required to distribute 100% of the money that's inside of a simple trust. Versus a complex trust is longer in nature, which means that there's more provisions inside of the trust. So because there's more provisions inside of the trust, what happens is, because it's complex, the trustees are not required to distribute to the beneficiary, okay? So it's not required. They get to determine what that net distribution is. Now, the next category that I want to share with you guys is discretionary versus non-discretionary. So a discretionary trust is a trust where the trustee has full discretion to be able to do anything and everything that they need to do for the trust, okay? So it's not written inside of the contract. So they can perform tasks for the trust that's not written inside of the contract, versus non-discretionary. So non-discretionary means that the trustee is not able to do the things that are not written inside of the contract. So if the contract doesn't say that you can buy crypto, then the trustee cannot buy crypto, okay? So that's non-discretionary, okay? The next category that I want to give you guys is statutory versus non-statutory. So a statutory trust, every single state has their state statutes, which are the laws and the codes inside of that particular state, okay? And so with a statutory trust, it means that if you decide to set up that trust in a particular state, you're embedding those state statutes and codes inside of the trust indenture, which means that you're limited to where you can only operate that trust in that one state, okay? And generally, with the statutory trust, you are going to register it with the state and it becomes a part of the public records versus non-statutory. So a non-statutory trust means that there are no state statutes or codes inside of the trust contract. And it means that the trust is not going to be registered with the state. So it gets to maintain its privacy, okay? Now, the next category and the last one that I want to give you guys is revocable versus irrevocable, okay? So a revocable trust, when we're talking about revocability or irrevocability, we are only referring to one party in this contract, okay? The one party that we're referring to is the grantor. So with a revocable trust, typically the grantor is the trustee and the beneficiary, okay? And so with the revocable trust, the grantor gets to make changes to the trust. They get to terminate the trust at any point in time. They get to remove trustees and beneficiaries. So they have a lot of power and control. Because they have so much power and control, this type of trust can actually be penetrated through the court system. Your assets, unfortunately, are not fully protected with a revocable trust, and creditors will come after a revocable trust. Why? Because a revocable trust is seen as your alter ego, okay? So it's seen as an extension of you because you're the grantor, trustee, and the beneficiary of the trust, okay? Versus the other type of trust. So the other type of trust is irrevocable, okay? So with an irrevocable trust, what we're saying is that the grantor and the trustee cannot be the same person. And so because they cannot be the same person, creditors cannot come after that type of trust. So your assets are fully protected. So with the irrevocable trust, the grantor cannot make any changes, meaning that they cannot amend the trust, they cannot terminate the trust, they cannot remove any trustees or beneficiaries, and if they were to place assets in the trust, they cannot take those assets out, okay? So because that is the case, what happens is your assets are not only fully protected, but if that trust, an irrevocable trust, was to end up in court, the judge would decide not to pierce through that trust. So when your trust, if it does end up in court, you don't want it to be penetrable through the court system because then it becomes a part of the public records, okay? And the number one reason why we're actually creating a trust is for privacy purposes. So those are the categories that I wanted to share with you guys, okay? So now what I want to go into is the steps that you need to take in order to actually create a trust, okay? So the first thing that you need to do when you are ready to actually create a trust is you, one, need to determine what type of trust you actually want to create, okay? So I just gave you a list of different categories. What I want you to know now is that the type of trust that I recommend based on the categories and the nature is this type of trust, okay? So it should be expressed, meaning that it's written, right? Not implied. The next thing is that it should be complex in nature. It should be discretionary so that the trustee is able to make decisions outside of what's in the contract. It should be non-statutory so that you can operate it in the entire United States and all the U.S. territories and not just be limited to one state. And lastly, it should be irrevocable because your assets are going to be fully protected and it's going to be impenetrable through the court system. So that is what we call a bulletproof trust, okay? That's what is going to actually safeguard all of your assets in order for you to put yourself in a position to where you are leaving that legacy that's actually going to last, right? It's going to have that longevity and last many, many, many generations into the future, okay? So do your research, do your due diligence, figure out the best type of trust for you and your family, okay? The second thing that I need you to be aware of is when you are actually creating this contract, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to name the trust. These are the two mistakes that I see people make out in society all the time. The first mistake that I see them make is that they name the trust after themselves. That is the biggest mistake that you can make, because the reason why you're actually creating a trust is for privacy purposes. And so you do not want to name the trust after yourself, okay? So what you want to do is you want to name the trust, right? So if your name is John Smith, don't name it the John Smith Trust, right? So you want to use names that are very, distinct, right? You could use terms like legacy. You could use terms like dynasty. You can use those types of terms if you want, okay? So just be mindful of that. Now, the other thing that I need you to know is that the name of your trust doesn't have to end in the word trust, okay? It's not like a corporation or a LLC where it has to end in LLC, okay? So just also be mindful of that, because when you're out here operating your entity, you don't want even the other person to know that it is a trust because you have the word trust in the actual name, okay? So just be mindful of that. Now that you have determined a name for your trust, it's time to appoint the different parties involved in the trust. So you're going to appoint a grantor, a trustee, and the beneficiaries, okay? So if you're going to appoint, if you're going to create an irrevocable trust, then the grantor and the trustee cannot be the same person, okay? You want to appoint yourself as the trustee so that you can maintain full control over the assets that are inside of the trust, okay? And typically, your children will be the beneficiaries. Now, with the beneficiaries, they can either be your children, your next of kin, or they could also be another entity, okay? Just whoever you want to inherit the assets that you have now. And then the last position that I need you to know about is the successor trustee. So that is the individual who's going to take over after you in the event that something happens to you. So you're the trustee operating the trust, right? The trust is designed to outlive you, okay? The trust is going to operate for 100, 200, 300 years. So you have to choose the next person in line. Who is going to take over for you if you become incapacitated? Who is going to take over for you if you decide that you don't want to operate the trust anymore and you resign? Who's going to take over for you if you transition? Okay, so you have to have that person readily available. They have to be at least 18 years and older and actually want to operate a trust, okay? So the next thing that you need to know is once you have figured out a name for the trust and the different parties, then you're going to finalize your trust contract, okay? So this is your agreement. We call it an indenture, okay? Now with your trust indenture, the most important thing is the provisions that you place inside of the trust, okay? So one of our ideal provisions are spendthrift provisions. That is provisions that you can put, or rules and regulations that will be placed inside the trust of how you are going to control the money from the grave, how the money that's inside of the trust is going to be spent, okay? So one of the spendthrift provisions could be an age restriction. So let's just say you want to say that that beneficiaries cannot have access to distributions until they're 25 years old, right? That means that they've reached a level of maturity, they've probably graduated from college, and now they're ready to go and start receiving some type of benefit, or what we call beneficial interest from the actual trust, okay? You can also restrict what they can spend the money on and what they cannot spend the money on, okay? So these spendthrift provisions are very, very important. Because as I mentioned, that's you controlling the money from the grave. You're the one who's building this legacy. You're the one who's making the money. You're the one who has acquired the asset. So you need to be able to put the right provisions in place in order to ensure that that money is going to continue to last, right? It's going to be preserved inside of your legacy or inside of the trust, okay? So now that you have finalized your trust contract, right? You put all of the terms and conditions, or what we call the bylaws, in there. Then what you're going to do is you're going to get the trust notarized, okay? So that is what's going to legalize the trust. So you and the grantor, there's two signatures that's required, the grantor and the trustee's signature in front of a notary public, okay? So you guys are going to sign. The notary is going to witness your signatures. They're going to sign, and they're going to place their seal on the trust documents. Once their seal is on the trust documents, it becomes legalized, and you are now able to operate the trust. So the first thing that you want to do when you are ready to go with full operation into the trust is you want to go and open up that trust fund, okay? So with the trust fund, what that looks like is you going to a bank. And now it could be any type of financial institution that actually offers trust accounts. So it could be a bank, it could be a brokerage firm, it could be a credit union, okay? Any of those financial institutions that offer trust accounts. And so what you're going to do is you're going to provide them with two pieces of documents. You're going to provide them with a certificate of trust. The certificate of trust is proof of identity that the trust actually exists. So you know how you walk around with a driver's license, and if someone asks you for proof of identity, you're able to show them? Well, the same thing goes for the trust. So if they ask for proof of identity that the trust exists, you're going to provide them with a certificate of trust. It has the name of the trust, it has the address, who the trustees are, things like that, okay? Now, the second piece of information that you're going to give them is an employer identification number. That is a 9-digit number that you are going to receive from the IRS for banking purposes. It's very hard to open up a bank account for the trust without an EIN number, okay? So you're going to provide them with that confirmation letter that you received, and then they're going to go ahead and open up the trust account. That trust account is considered a trust fund. So the types of accounts that you'll get for a trust are checking account, savings account, money market account, and brokerage accounts, and cash management accounts, okay? So all of those are considered trust funds. Now, what you're going to do next is you're going to fund the trust with whatever money that is necessary to open up that account. Every single bank or financial institution is different. Some banks, their minimum is $100. Some are $1,000. Some are $5,000. It just depends on the bank that you choose, okay? So you're going to go ahead and fund that trust fund account. And now that your account is funded, now you can move on to the last step. The last step is the most important step, okay? This is the step that I see people skip the most, or this is where they make the mistake, okay? Which is transferring assets into the trust. So this is the most important step. Once you have funded your trust and it's finalized, what you want to do is you want to transfer those assets into the trust. So that's your house, your car, any cash money that you have, cryptocurrency, jewelry, anything that you have of value that's considered an asset, okay? So let's just say that it's your house, right? When you purchased your house, you received a deed, okay? And so now that deed is in your personal name, which means that this house is in your personal name. A lot of people don't know that it's a part of the public records. So anyone can go down to Jefferson County, they can put your first and last name in, and they're able to see that you own that property, okay? So you need to be able to remove yourself from the public records as the owner of that property. The way that you're going to do that is by deeding that property over into the trust, okay? So you're going to redeed it. So the way that we do it is we will do a quit claim deed so that we are able to deed it over from our personal name into the trust. So once we deed it over into the trust, then we have to record it with the county recorder's office. Once it's recorded, then the public records is updated to show that that house is owned by a trust, okay? It's owned by an entity, okay? So that is what you want to do when you are transferring your property. So not only do you have to list that property into the trust, right, inside of the trust, but you also have to do the legal transfer with the county, okay? All right, wonderful. So let's continue on. So now what I want to do is, let's go on to the next one. And I want to share with you that um, the trust, right? The reason why we actually created is for asset protection. So what can a trust actually protect you from? It can protect you from bankruptcies, divorce, foreclosures, heavy taxation, lawsuits, and probate. Okay. So I'm just going to talk about two of them for right now. So, or you know what? Let's talk about divorce actually. So a divorce is a transfer of wealth. A lot of people don't know that. Unfortunately, when it comes to divorce, right? A lot of people, one spouse will end up with everything or half, and the other spouse will end up with nothing or half, okay? But a divorce is actually a lawsuit between two spouses, okay? So the way that a trust can actually protect you in this situation is because if you set up a trust and if you place assets into the trust, right, you are not the trust is not you. Which means that if you are the individual that's going through the divorce, everything that is going to be included in the divorce is everything that's in your personal name, meaning the house, meaning the pension, the 401k, the car, the cash money in your checking account. All of that stuff is going to be included in the divorce, right? But if you have a trust and that trust has two houses and $500,000, nothing inside of that trust can be included in your divorce. Why? Because you're the one getting the divorce, not the trust. So legally, they cannot pull that trust into your divorce. Okay. So that is how you can protect yourself. All right. Lawsuits, right? So a lot of people, they are walking around here thinking that they're not going to get sued. You do not want to wait until you're getting sued to protect yourself from a lawsuit because we live in the United States of America. The United States of America is a very sue-friendly country, you guys, okay? And when I say sue-friendly, I mean sue-friendly. So what happens is your neighbors, they want to sue you. Your siblings want to sue you. Your employers want to sue you, your coworkers want to sue you, everyone wants to sue you, right? And so you have to put yourself in a position to where all of your assets are protected in case that somebody tries to sue you, right? Because they can take your assets away from you if you end up losing that lawsuit. So let's talk about it, right? So a lot of us on the call, we are entrepreneurs, right? So if we are entrepreneurs, let's just say that we're running a business, right? And so that business is an LLC. What does LLC stand for? So you guys can come off mute.
Limited Liability Corporation.
Yeah, limited liability company. So you hear it actually in the name, in the word, right? So it says limited liability company. So if the company has limited liability, who do you think has the other half of that limited liability?
You the owner?
The owner. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, for example, with LLCs, you have authorized members, right? So you have members. So if you are the owner of that LLC, that means that you are liable for what happens to the company, right? And so a lot of us, we think that the LLC is that we're fully protected when we're not fully protected. So let's just say that we're running a business, right? And somebody decides to sue our LLC, right? If they sue our LLC, and it ends up going to court, right? Because a lot of us, we don't know that everything's a part of the public records. All they have to do is go through the Secretary of State and look up your LLC, and they're able to see who owns the LLC. So if you set up your company and you put yourself as the owner, you're on the public records, okay? So now that we know that, if a customer or a client or anybody wants to sue you, they just have to go down to the Secretary of State. And now they know, how they're able to sue your LLC, okay? So let's just say that they go through with the lawsuit, right? And you lose, right? So now there's a judgment against the LLC for $500,000, right? If that LLC cannot cover that judgment, what do you think is going to happen?
You're gonna come after the owner for the asset.
So that's exactly what is going to happen. So if the LLC cannot cover the judgment, then the judge is going to pierce through the corporate veil. The corporate veil is the tiny little protection that you thought you had with the LLC, okay? So the judge pierces through that corporate veil and goes after the authorized member. The authorized member is you. So now they're going to go after you for the $500,000, right? And so when they go after you for the $500,000, guess what they're doing? They are going to seize your assets, right? So they're going to take the house away that you live in with your children. They're going to take the car away, right? They're going to garnish your bank accounts, right? So they're going to go right into your bank account and take the money, right? Or they're even going to garnish your wages. I know you guys have heard these terms, okay? So please do not wait until this happens to you for you to then realize I need to protect myself from this, okay? Like I said, United States, sue-friendly country, okay? So now on the flip side, if you have a trust, right? How can a trust could protect you? Well, instead of you owning your business in your personal name, what you want to do is you want to have the trust be the owner of the business, okay? So you're going to set up a business trust. The business trust is going to be the authorized member of the LLC. So that means that you have to remove yourself as the authorized member of the LLC. You have to then put the business trust, because now if somebody tries to sue the LLC, they can go after the LLC, right? And if they try to pierce through that corporate veil, then they're going to try to go after the business trust. If they can't serve the business trust, then the lawsuit dies there, right? Or if they do get to sue the business trust, right? Then because that business trust is acting as a holding company, it doesn't have any assets, right? There's no cash in there, right? And so you can then just bankrupt the business trust and move on, okay? So that's just one thing for you to think about if you are an entrepreneur or business owner and you are the owner on paper, okay? You do not want to be liable for your business. You want a trust to be liable for your business. Now, the last thing that I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to asset protection is probate, right? So let me ask you guys a question. If you didn't wake up tomorrow and you have this house in your personal name, how do you think that house is going to be transferred to your son or your daughter? So you guys can come off mute. Let me.
It's definitely going to have to go through probate if you don't have a trust in place. And I personally know, because we went through this, my husband and I, with his parents in their house. And it took a year to go through that whole process, and it's costly.
Very costly. I'm so glad that you're saying this because it's so true. And a lot of us, we have bought into the lie. And the lie that we bought into is my children are automatically going to get my house. It's not automatic, right? And so if you don't have your affairs in order, then your children are going to automatically go to probate, right? So if you have a house and this house is in your personal name, right? And you don't wake up tomorrow, you're going to be leaving it up to a judge, and it's going to be that judge's decision if your son or your daughter gets your house. So let's break down the probate process because I need you to know, right? She just said that they went through it for an entire year and it was very costly. So let's talk about it, right? So you have, let's just say you have a house, a car, you have $500,000 in the bank, and you have a will, right? A lot of people think that a will is good enough, when in actuality, a will is a wish list, okay? A will is meant to be a set of instructions for the probate court system, okay? A will is your last will and testament where you're saying, I wish my daughter will get my house. I wish my son will get the $500,000 in my bank account. You're literally wishing that, okay? A will cannot own anything, okay? So a will definitely end up in probate. That's what I need you to know. Now, you have all of these assets. You did not wake up tomorrow. The first thing that's going to happen is the state where you're a resident. So if you're a resident of Texas, the state of Texas is going to create an estate for you. Why? Because you did not do it. Because you failed to create an estate while you were alive. Now the state of Texas has to create an estate for you. So at the end of the day, you're going to have an estate anyways. You might as well do it while you're living. So now Texas created your estate, right? They call it the John Smith estate. Okay, right, named it right after you. And then they go and place your house, your bank account, and your car into the estate. Now your estate needs to be represented in probate court, right? So your estate goes straight to probate court and it needs to be represented by a probate attorney, okay? And so now you're in the probate process, okay? You're in the court system. The first thing that the judge does is they are going to cover your liabilities. They're going to discharge all of your debt. So what that means is that student loan debt that you had is going to come out of your estate. The credit card bills and debt that you had is going to come out of your estate. The medical bills that you racked up at the end of life sometimes are 6 figures, sometimes are 7 figures, right? The nursing home bills, Medicare, Medicaid, they're all coming after your estate. And the judge is just passing out the money like it's candy, okay? And so they are paying off all of your liabilities first. After your liabilities are paid off, the probate attorney is going to receive their fees. The probate court is going to receive their fees. Whatever is left over, if there's anything left over, is what your children get. Your children get the leftovers. And so sometimes we've seen it to where the liquid cash that you had inside of your bank account is not enough to pay Medicare and Medicaid and the credit cards and the student loans. And so unfortunately, they sell your house. They start to liquidate your assets. And so now your son, your daughter, they're fighting inside of the court system to save mom's house, to keep dad's house, right? And unfortunately, sometimes they're not able to do that. So our children are losing our inheritance. They're losing their inheritance. Why? Because we have done a disservice, because we did not set up an estate while we were living, because we did not build a trust now. And so unfortunately, during that time, they're supposed to be grieving. They just lost the most important person in their life. But instead of them grieving in peace, we're dragging them through the probate process, okay? So what you want to do is you want to avoid that process. There's only one way to avoid probate. The only way to avoid probate is by setting up a trust. It's by creating your own estate now while you're living. That's the only way to avoid probate. Probate is inevitable. We're all going to go through it. So the way that you do it, right, is you set up the trust. You transfer your assets into the trust, right? The house, the car, the money, right? And so now, if you don't wake up tomorrow, guess what happens? Your children get to grieve in peace, and your successor trustee, the person who is going to take over after you, the person that you're passing the baton to, they're going to pick up where you left off and continue to operate the trust. So the trust is going to continue to be fully functional. Your assets are fully protected. Your children maintain as the beneficiaries, receiving their inheritance, receiving distributions. And that debt that you had, that debt dies with you. That debt is discharged, okay? It dies with you. The credit card, the student loans, the medical bills, they all die with you. Why? Because those creditors cannot come after your estate. So that is the process that you want you and your family to go through. But only that's only going to happen if you get your affairs in order, everyone. Okay? So let's continue on. The next thing I want to share with you is the wealth building formula, you guys. Okay? So I have 3 pillars here. I have structure, credit, and invest. With structure, you want to get structured properly. And if you're not structured like this, you want to get restructured, okay? So I need you to put inside of your mind already that you're going to need multiple trusts within your structure. So these are the 3 trusts that I recommend: a business trust, a family trust, and a tax-exempt nonprofit trust, okay? So let's talk about the first one, which is the business trust. So we briefly mentioned it when we said that for our entrepreneurs and business owners, right? You do not want to own that LLC or that corporation in your name. So you want a business trust to own it. So you're going to set up a business trust. Now, this business trust can be operated in 2 ways. It can be operated as a holding company where it's going to own the LLC or the corporation, or you can actually set it up as a business and then you can start running a business through the business trust. All right. And so if you set it up as a holding company, then the holding company is going to be non-operational. So that means it doesn't have employees or offer products and services. Your LLC has employees and offers products and services. So you need to do an amendment with the Secretary of State with the Articles of Organization. You need to remove yourself as the authorized member. You need to add the business trust as the new authorized member for your LLC, okay? And so then at that point in time, now the business trust owns the LLC. So whatever money that the LLC is generating, you can do a K-1 distribution. You can distribute that money into the business trust, okay? So let's just say it's $100,000. So that $100,000 goes straight to the business trust. And so now with the business trust, the thing that I love about these trusts is that what you're going to do is you're going to spend the money first and you're taxed on the leftovers. That's the thing that I love the most about this trust, okay? So the business trust is a for-profit entity. It files a 1041. So you as a natural person, you file a 1040. Well, the business trust is separate from you. So it has its own type of filings. So the name of the filing or the return is the 1041, okay? And so now you have $100,000 that came into this business trust, right? You're going to spend the money first and your tax on the leftovers. So what you're spending first is what we call the operating expenses or OPEX. All right, so what does it cost in order for you to administrate and manage this trust? Let's just say that it costs you $30,000. So now you're writing off $30,000 of the $100,000. And so now you have $70,000 that's left, okay? So one of the beautiful things that I love about this trust is that you can actually distribute that money and it is tax deductible for the trust, okay? So that means that we're going to distribute that $70,000 to the beneficiary. And then on the business trust level, right, we just wrote off 30, we distributed 70, so now we're all done because 100% of the money or all of the entire $100,000 has been allocated, right? And so now our tax liability is 0%. So now that $70,000, we distributed it to the beneficiary. So we make the beneficiary of the business trust the family trust, okay? So because the family trust is the beneficiary of the business trust, we flow money from the business to the family to sustain the family. So that $70,000 went to the family trust, okay? The $70,000 is tax deductible for the business trust, okay? So now we're at the family trust level. So with the family trust, right, this is also a for-profit entity, and generally your children are going to be the beneficiaries of the family trust, okay? So with the family trust, it's also going to file a 1041. So once again, you're going to spend the money first and you're taxed on the leftovers. So what does it cost in order to run your family? Well, if you have mortgage, if you have property taxes, if you have utilities, if you have gas, if you have maintenance, those types of things, then all of that is included, right, in your operating expenses. So let's just say that it costs $60,000 in order to run your family organization, right? So you're going to do, you're going to write off $60,000 of the $70,000 that came in, okay? And so now you have $10,000 that's left. So you will normally pay 10% on that $10,000, which is only $1,000 in taxes, okay? Or what you are also able to do is what we call a charitable contribution. A charitable contribution is where you can contribute up to 60% of your annual gross income to a charity of your choice. So the charity of your choice can be your own organization, which is why it's so vitally important for us to have a for-profit and a nonprofit within our organization, because that charitable contribution will then go to the tax-exempt nonprofit trust, okay? So with that being said, with the family trust level, we did we wrote off 60,000 and we did a charitable contribution for 10,000. So that is 100% of what was what the tax implication was. So now we have a 0% tax liability for the private family trust. So now let's go to the tax exempt nonprofit trust. So with this trust, this is considered a 508c1a. All right. And so it is a mandatory exception to not having to file for a 501c3. So this is a automatic, this trust is automatically exempt from federal taxes with the IRS. And this is due to the separation between church and state. Okay. So another term that we can use for this type of trust is a faith-based organization, a church, a ministry, a charitable organization or charity. So those are the terms that we'll use for this organization, okay? So with this organization, the money that is coming in is going to be either labeled as a donation or a tithe, okay? And you do not have to pay any taxes on anything that is labeled as a donation or a tithe. Now, if you have income coming in as long as it's $5,000 or less, you don't have to pay taxes on it. The minute that it surpasses $5,000, then you do have to start paying taxes on it, okay? So with this type of trust, right, the IRS, if you're a W-2 employee or if you're a 1099, the IRS will allow you to donate up to 60% of your annual gross income to this organization, okay? So that means that if you're a W-2 employee and you're making $100,000 for the year and you donate 60 of it to your nonprofit, then what's going to happen is you're going to be taxed on 40 of it, or 40,000. Okay. So let's move on to credit. So credit is so vitally important. You want to put yourself in a position to where you are leveraging OPM, other people's money. So the first thing I need you to know is that you qualify for grants. The second thing I need you to know is that you're able to build business credit with the business trust. And that is off of the EIN. So you're going to get an EIN, then you're going to get a DUNS number, and then you're able to start establishing business credit so that you can actually you can actually leverage a second credit profile, because a lot of us, we are so focused on our personal credit, but our personal credit, we usually do not get as much funding as we would with a business credit. Okay, so you'll get higher lines of credit and higher limits for your credit cards. Okay, so it is a good it is best practice for you to definitely leverage that second credit profile and start establishing business credit for the business trust, and start leveraging OPM, other people's money, specifically the bank's money, okay? Because they are leveraging your money, okay? So with that being said, let's move on to the next one, which is invest. So these are the two assets that I recommend that everyone have within their trust organization. So they should have a life insurance policy and real estate, okay? So let's talk about the life insurance policy. So my favorite type of policy is an index universal life insurance policy. With this policy, life insurance is supposed to be used when you are living. That's why it's called life insurance. But a lot of people think that life insurance is supposed to be used when they are dead. There are so many living benefits to life insurance, right? So with life insurance, you can get to grow your money tax-free. It is protected. So for example, if somebody tries to sue you, they can't take the money that's in your life insurance, right? And there's a death benefit associated with it, right? So if you are the insured and something happens to you, then that money is going to go to your beneficiary, right? But one of the most beautiful things that I love so much is that with this type of policy, you build cash value, right? And so what cash value is a separate bucket. So when you go to pay your premiums, what happens is let's just say it's $100, right? Premium. $20 is going to go to the cost of doing business, which goes to the carrier for the cost of insurance. And then $80 is going to go to your cash value. So with your cash value, you're going to be accumulating cash over time, and that cash is going to be earning interest, and it's going to be earning compound interest, okay? And so the way that it's actually doing that is because with this type of policy, which is an index universal life insurance policy, you see the word index, that means that that the way that this policy works is with your cash value, right? It actually is going to mirror the stock market. So your money is not going to be directly invested in the stock market, but it's going to mirror the stock market, specifically an index, right? So the stock markets have many indices. They have the NASDAQ, they have the Dow Jones, and they have the S&P 500. Okay, the Standard & Poor 500 is it tracks the top 500 companies in this country. Okay, and so typically your stock market does, or your S&P does, about 8 to 10%, right? And so what happens is with your cash value, because it's mirroring the market, if the market is doing 9%, then the carrier is going to give you a 9% return on your cash value. So they're going to match what the market is doing, okay? And now the beautiful thing about it is that let's just say that the stock market crashes. Your money doesn't crash with it, okay? Because your floor can either be 0 or at least 1%. So you're not going to go down with the market when the market goes down, okay? So this is a beautiful thing because it's going to allow your money to compound and grow over time, which is what you want. You want to park your money in places to where it is growing, to where it is working for you, to where it is going out and bringing back friends. Every single dollar needs to go out and bring back 25 cents, 10 cents, 15 cents, okay? So you need to put yourself in a position to where you're paying yourself first, right? You need to put yourself in a position to where your money is working for you, right? And so a lot of us, we are always paying ourselves last, right? So for example, when we get paid, right? Let's just say that it's Friday and we just got paid. The first thing that happens when we get paid is what? Let me ask you guys. What's the first thing that happens when you get paid?
Our taxes go to the government.
Facts. Exactly. He said it. So the first thing that happens when you get paid is um the IRS withholds taxes. Then you have Medicare, Social Security, and then you have your 401k contributions if you contribute, right? So you have 4 different organizations that have dipped their hands into your paycheck before you even touch your paycheck, right? And then your paycheck is direct deposited where? Where does your paycheck go?
In our checking
In your
account.
bank.
Yeah, who you bank with?
Chase, Washington. I mean, not Washington.
Washington Mutual.
It slept up.
So he banked with Chase, right? Okay, so that means that direct deposit on Friday, paycheck went straight to Chase, right? And so what is the first thing that happens when your paycheck goes to Chase? What happens when your paycheck goes to Chase?
Chase takes money out of it
Yeah.
and invests your
Okay.
money.
So Chase is pimping out your money, okay? Let's just be honest.
Exactly.
Chase is using OPM.
Mm-hmm.
Chase
Other
is
people's
using other
money.
people's money, right?
Yep.
So that's why you need to flip the script and do the same thing, right? If Chase is getting rich off of you, you need to get rich off of Chase. So you need to
Exactly.
use OPM, you need to use the bank's money, right? So when your paycheck comes into the bank, they are lending it off. Okay, y'all need to look up the fractional reserve system because they are lending your money to be able to do car loans, student loans, mortgages, credit cards, right? That's where your money is being lent out, right? And they're getting high interest, 30%, 20%, 15%, right? Now, that is how Chase is making their money, right? But that is their line of business. Chase, their number one asset is life insurance policies. Did y'all know that?
Yes.
Okay, she
I
said
didn't.
yes.
I did not.
Okay,
They're
so
called
if
bullies.
who said bully?
Dr. Ethel Sims. That bank-owned life
Okay,
insurance.
thank you. What? She took it right. Wait a minute. My hand is on my hip. She took it right out of my mouth. Okay. Bowley bank owned life insurance. Oh my gosh. So that is their number one asset. So their liquid assets are tied up in life insurance. So I'm just going to let y'all know right now. If the bank's number one asset is life insurance, what do you think your number one asset should be?
Life insurance.
Life insurance.
Thank you. 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 Y'all picking up what I'm putting down. I'm not even done yet. Okay. All right. So this is beautiful. Okay. So, as I mentioned, let's get back to the slides. As I mentioned, you guys need to put yourself in a position to where you are paying yourself first, right? So a lot of us, we go to pay our bills first, and then we always leave ourselves last. So make it a point to contribute to your life insurance policy. Make it a point to funnel money into there so that the cash value is growing, because you need to be very mindful about where you're parking your money. This is how we're going to get out of the rat race. Right? We have bought into what society wanted for us. They have institutionalized us, and we are working 9 to 5, 40 hours a week for 40 years, and we're waiting until we're 65 in order to retire. That is the old way of doing things. That is the old construct, okay? It's going to take us to do a mindset shift to unplug ourselves from that system. We don't want to wait until we're 65. I know I don't. So once upon a time, I was a nurse. Okay, so I was working in the hospital. I retired myself in 8 years. I told myself I was going to do it in 10, but I end up retiring myself in 8 years. And I was very intentional about not being in the rat race, because I was in it, right? I was living paycheck to paycheck as a registered nurse. One thing that really opened up my eyes was I had a coworker, and this was a beautiful, beautiful older woman. She was about 65 years old. And there was times where, and so if y'all don't know about nursing, you guys, it's like 12-hour shifts. You're on your feet all day. You fighting to keep your patients alive. It's a lot. Okay. And so she was tired, right? She was working, and she was tired. And so I looked at her one day, and I saw how exhausted she was at work. And I was like, when are you going to retire? Like, you've done your time. I looked at her so beautifully. I was like, you've done your time. You've paid your dues. Like, when are you going to retire? Because I know that you have grandchildren, and I know that you want to relax now. And her response to me was, I'm going to wait until I'm 67 and a half, because when I'm 67 and a half, then I'm going to get a little bit more money from my Social Security. And I was like, okay. And so she was banking on like an extra $200, right? And the reason why she was so dependent on the system is because she did not build a financial infrastructure for herself, okay? And so she didn't have the means to retire at 65. So she already knew that she was going to depend on Social Security, right? And this is, like, I'm telling you, this woman, she was just such a beautiful soul. And so what ended up happening was, one day, after work, she was so exhausted that as soon as she left the parking lot, she hit a tree and died immediately on impact. She didn't even leave the hospital. Um, And that was because she was so exhausted. She worked 5, 6 days. So she didn't even make it to 67 and a half. And it breaks my heart every time that I think about her in this story, because we've really been brainwashed. We have really been brainwashed into this way of life that society has built for us, right? We didn't build this for ourselves. We're just in it. And so it really does take for you to look at things a different way, for you to really be able to make the changes that you want to in your life, and for you to impact your children and your grandchildren. So we this whole thing is going to take us to take that mindset shift to be like, okay, I need to park my money in places where it's going to grow, to where I don't have to trade my time for money anymore, to where I don't have to clock in and clock out. I don't have to depend on Social Security, Medicare, or all of these things that society wants for us, right? You want to be what we call financially independent, right? Financially independent of whatever's going on. And so the only way that you're going to do that is by having your money work for you. And so one of the ways is through the life insurance policy. That's one of the ways. Through earning compound interest. That's one of the ways, or, one way that you can park your money to where it's growing, it's bringing back friends, it's getting pregnant, it's making babies, okay? Now, let's talk about so just to wrap up the life insurance part, and then we can go into real estate, is with the life insurance, right? Your trust is going to be the owner of the policy. Your trust is going to pay the premiums. Your trust is going to be the beneficiary of the policy, and you are going to be the insured, okay? So the trust is going to take out a policy on you. Now, those of you guys who already have a policy, that's wonderful. All you have to do is just contact your carrier and let them know that you want to change the ownership and beneficiary information. You update it to where the trust is the owner and the beneficiary and paying the premiums of that policy, okay? You are still the insured. So the next one I want to talk to you guys about is real estate, right? Real estate is so near and dear to my heart, you guys. I have been a real estate investor for 10 years. I was a real estate investor before I was a trustee. Real estate turned me into a trustee, okay? But I come from a background to where, like, growing up, I didn't even know, like, my family we were squatters. We were squatters. We were living in abandoned buildings until my mom said enough is enough and got us into Section 8 housing. And so seeing this gave me this burning desire for real estate. And I know that real estate was my way out. So that's why it was the very first thing that I ever parked my money into was real estate. And so that first property that I'm telling you guys about, this was 10 years ago, right? I bought this property and I flipped it, right? And I bought it for $89,000 and I end up selling it for $235,000. And when I realized that I could make six figures off of a house, I never looked back. So, um, what I want to tell you guys about when it comes to the trust is that the trust can own real estate, right? The trust can take out a mortgage. The trust can take out a home equity line of credit, right? And so what you want to do is you want to put yourself in a position to where the trust can sustain itself. You do not want to be pouring in your W-2 income money into the trust. You need the trust to be able to sustain itself, which means that it needs to be able to acquire its own assets, okay? You are not the trust is not you, okay? So the trust is going to go ahead and acquire real estate. One of my favorite things when it comes to real estate investing is the DSCR, right? That's the debt service coverage ratio loan. So they'll give you up to 80% of the purchase price. So let's just say that you buy multifamily, right? So you're buying multifamily or not even multifamily. Let's just say you buy a duplex, right? A duplex, a triplex. You buy a triplex, right? So let's just say you buy a triplex, right? And you're gonna buy, the trust is gonna purchase it using a DSCR loan, right? And so the DSCR loan is going to cover 80%. Where are you going to get the other 20% from? Right? And so where you're going to get it from is from OPM, other people's money, the bank's money. So remember we said in the previous slide, right, in the previous pillar, we said that you're going to be building business credit with the business trust, right? And so with the business trust, right, when you are getting these higher lines of credit, you're getting lines of credit for 20,000, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000, right? So let's just say you got a line of credit for 50,000, right? You can use that line of credit in order to be your down payment on the real estate. But before you make that down payment, what you want to do first, right? If you're going to leverage OPM, you want to be able to funnel that money into your life insurance policy. Okay. So let's just say that you strip that line of credit for 50,000. You're going to funnel that 50,000 into your index universal life insurance policy. That policy, your cash value is going to go up by 50,000, right? Let's just say it's 49,000, right? So let's say the cash value goes up by 49,000, right? So now that 49,000 is making money, right? It's earning compound interest by mirroring the S&P 500, right? And the S&P 500, let's just say it did 10%, okay? So that's a beautiful thing. But now what you're going to do is you're going to actually borrow from the policy. So this is my favorite thing about the life insurance policy is that you actually get to borrow against your cash value, okay? So the carrier, they see your life insurance policy as an asset. And so they're going to check your cash value. So you're going to ask the carrier for a loan, right? You got 49,000 in cash value, right? You're going to ask them for a loan. So they're going to give you a loan for $48,500, right? And they're going to do a direct deposit right into your bank account, okay? So your 49,000 or your 50,000 is still inside of the cash value and is still working for you and is still earning compound interest. But then they just gave you a loan from their money, from their reserves, from their bank account. So your money is still sitting inside of your policy, earning cash value, right? Earning compound interest. So it's still sitting inside of your cash value, earning compound interest, right? And so you just borrowed out that 48,500. Now you're going to use that for real estate, okay? So now you're acquiring a triplex, right? You got the DSCR loan for 80% or 80,000, and then you got the 48,500 as your 20% down payment, okay? So now you just acquired real estate zero down. And I will tell you that is how I acquire real estate. I acquire real estate zero down. I do not use any of my own money. That first property that I bought 10 years ago, I got 100% financing. 100%. I did not put $1, not $1 of my own money. This is how you can actually build up the portfolio for the trust, okay? These are the things that you want to do in order for the trust to be able to not only acquire assets, but to sustain itself so that it can then provide for the beneficiaries, okay? All right, so now let's continue on. We're about to land this plane here, so let's continue on. So the next thing that I want to talk to you guys about is how to actually transfer wealth. You need to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. And I'm going to say it again because it's so vitally important. You need to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. That is what stewardship is. Stewardship is you putting yourself in a position to where you're being a good steward of the wealth that has been put into your control, okay? The wealth that God has given you, you are being a good steward of it, okay? And so that's what you want to operate in. You want to operate in stewardship, but a lot of us are operating in ownership. And so what ownership is where we're so proud to be the owner of the house, right? We need to get away from that mindset and that thinking, right? Because that's what society wants. Society wants us to be the owner of everything, okay? And so a lot of us, like I said, we're so proud to be the owner and we're operating in ownership, but that's dangerous, right? Because if we don't wake up tomorrow, guess what? That house is still going to be there, right? So in all actuality, it's not that you wanted to be the owner of the house, it's that you wanted full control. So what you really truly desire and what you really truly want is you want control over that property while you're living. And you can get that by way of a trust, because the trust is going to own the property and you're going to control the property while you're living. So instead of operating in ownership, you need to operate in stewardship. Now, has anyone ever asked themselves this question, how am I going to transfer the wealth? Has anybody ever asked themselves that question? How am I going to
Yes.
transfer the wealth?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, awesome, awesome. So this is how you transfer the wealth with a trust. When your trust is created, it's going to create trust certificate units, which stand for TCUs, okay? Now, TCUs or trust certificate units are just like stock certificates. So they represent beneficial interest in a trust, just like how a stock certificate represents like ownership interests. Okay, so with that being said, what's going to happen is you're going to distribute the TCUs to your beneficiaries. Okay, and so the trust actually has 100 trust certificate units, and with these 100 trust certificate units, you're going to disperse them to your beneficiaries. Let's just say I'm one of your beneficiaries, right? I hope so. So if I'm one of your beneficiaries, let's just say you give me 25 units, right? So that means that I have 25% of beneficial interest out of that 100%, right? So let's just say that the trust is worth $1 million. The trust has a net worth of $1 million, right? So if the trust has a net worth of $1 million and I have 25 TCUs, which represents 25% of beneficial interest, that means that my beneficial interest is worth $250,000 of that $1 million. Okay. So when I just need you to be mindful of that, because this is how you're going to transfer the wealth, right? So once the trust is terminated, right, or once the trust expires, those assets are then transferred to the TCU holders, okay, to the beneficiaries, okay? All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is preservation, because a lot of us, we don't even have the tools in place in order to preserve our wealth, right? How many times have we seen it to where we've seen celebrities, athletes, famous families, where their wealth is just automatically, like, it doesn't even last the second or third generation, or they lose it in their lifetime? We've seen it so many times. And the reason being is because they do not have the tools that you need in order to preserve your wealth. So there's two tools that you need. The first one is a trust. The second one is life insurance, okay? Now, remember in the previous slide, I gave you a brief synopsis of what the living benefits are with the life insurance policy, okay? So that's a beautiful thing. So now what I need you to know is that with this, with the life insurance, right, and the trust, they are a beautiful marriage, okay? They go together. And so the trust, as I mentioned, the trust has insurance on everything. The trust has homeowners insurance in the house, car insurance on the automobiles, FDI insurance on the cash. So the trust needs to have life insurance or insurance on the human assets. So you are the human assets. Your children are the human assets within the trust organization. So the trust also needs to insure you. So the trust needs to insure the trustees and the beneficiaries and every single person associated with the trust. Why? Because if anything happens to you, if anything happens to your children, the trust is devastated. The trust is experiencing a loss. The trust needs to be compensated for that loss. So with that being said, what happens is the trust is going to take out a policy on the trustees, the beneficiaries, and all of the future beneficiaries. So those future beneficiaries, right? Those are called trust fund babies. Why? Because those babies are born into the trust. So when you have a trust fund baby that is born into the trust, guess what? The trust is going to take out a policy as soon as that baby hits 30 days old, right? And so now the trust is starting to pay into that premium. All right. As I mentioned, right, if anything happens to the trustees, the beneficiaries, or the future beneficiaries, right, then that death benefit goes straight to the trust and the trust is replenished. Okay. So if we have this trust fund baby that we put a policy on when they're 30 days old, and now we've been paying into the policy, paying into the policy, paying into the policy, that trust fund baby is going to grow up. So let's just say that the trust fund baby is now 18 years old. And so they're ready to get their first car right off the lot. So in a normal scenario, what they can do is they can go down to the dealership. They can go and get into a high interest car loan and start paying the dealership $1,000 a month, right? For a $30,000 car. Or what they can do is they can go to the trust and they request a loan. So that trust fund baby goes to the trust and requests a loan, right? And then what happens is the beneficiary, I mean, not the beneficiary. What happens is the trustee is actually going to write a check to that beneficiary, right? Because they are the trust fund baby of a trust, right? They're the beneficiary of a trust. So they go to the trust and ask for a loan for $30,000, right? And so the trustee writes the check, 30,000, hands it over to the beneficiary. They go and buy the car cash. Now they start paying the trust $300 payments every single month, right? To pay off that $30,000 loan. And the trust is getting a little bit of interest, right? 1 or 2% interest. Let's just say a year into the future, that trust fund baby decides, I don't want to pay the trust anymore. So they default. Well, it's okay that the trust fund baby defaulted because that loan doesn't need to be paid back. And the reason being is because that loan did not originate from the trust. That money did not come from the trust fund. That money actually came from the trust fund baby's life insurance policy. So when that trust fund baby requested a loan for $30,000, the trustee went to their life insurance carrier and requested a loan from that person, that beneficiary's policy. And they looked at the cash value and they did a direct deposit into the trust fund, and then that check was issued to the beneficiary. So the loan doesn't need to be paid back because that money is automatically going to be deducted from the death benefit of the life insurance policy. So when that trust fund baby transitions and they have a death benefit of $5 million, that $5 million is going straight to the trust. So this is what preservation of wealth looks like. This is what you and your family need to orchestrate all together, right? It's so vitally important, but you need to have the tools. You need to have the trust set up. You need to have the life insurance policies on all of the people. So me, myself, I have 5 policies inside of my trust organization. Why? Because I have 5 people in my organization. So these are the books that I recommend. What Would the Rockefeller Do? That's a really good book that teaches you about the connection between life insurance and trust. The next one is The Art of Passing the Buck, Volume 1 and 2. It teaches you about trusteeship. The next one is The Family Wealth. It teaches you how to run your family like a business. You are the CEO of your family. Your spouse is the CFO of the family. The last one is The Complete Book of Trust, which teaches you about the different types of trust. So take action on the information that I provided you guys tonight, because it could be your new way of doing business and it could solve a lot of your problems. A lot of the problems that you have with protecting your assets, with lawsuits, with divorces, foreclosures, with bankruptcies, with saving money, with OPM in business, right? So that is what you want to do. You want to treat this like a big business. You don't want to treat this like a little small mom and pop shop. Your whole entire structure, your whole organization, you want to treat this like you running Google, like you running IBM and Facebook and Amazon. That's the way you want to treat this. So let me show you a quick video from a gentleman that took action on the information that we provided tonight.
Well, kudos to you all. Again, Christina, it's been a wonderful experience. I've been looking at your videos on YouTube for a while, and there are a number of people offering trust these days, and I guess that's the big thing. Don't own anything, control everything. That kind of, I didn't say it correctly, but that is the sentiment. And so it seems like the playing field is being leveled now from the rich and people who weren't privy to this information. So thank you for being such a great asset to a community that didn't have this information. And you made it so simple. Thank you for the recordings. Thank you for the step-by-step instructions, things that we can go back and look at. So we do appreciate you. And thank you, Mondo. That was a great explanation of infinite banking. I know a number of people are talking about that, but they make it so complex. And his presentation was nice and succinct and very informative. So this has been an overall great experience. I definitely will recommend you to others.
All right, so let's work together, you guys. So I do have a program teaching you step by step the information that I provided tonight. So I do have 3 different offers. The first one is do it yourself. So with do it yourself, this is our course. So that means that you're going to be learning this stuff independently. We have 43 video modules where you get to download the modules and you get to download the templates, and you can get to start setting up the trust yourself. So inside of the program, we include the 3 trusts that I mentioned earlier, which is the business trust, the family trust, and the tax exempt nonprofit trust. Okay. So you get lifetime access to the course. You also get access to our resources and ebooks. So some of the resources are all your tax documents, right? For you to have board meetings, for you to transfer your house, so the quitclaim deeds. Those are just to list some of the resources that we have available for you. As far as the ebooks, so the books that we just mentioned earlier, you will get those books electronically inside of the program. Some of those books cost $800 if you try to get them on Amazon. Okay, we also have a private Facebook community, and a Telegram chat. So we have over 1,300 trustees in our community that you guys get to network with. So it's time for us to be able to network with like-minded individuals so that we can build with each other, okay? So the course is only $997. The second option is done with you. This is where we show up live on Zoom, how we're showing up right now, okay? So I show up live on Zoom with you Monday through Friday, okay? So it's a week long, it's a workshop, okay? And so on the workshop on Monday, I break down the business trust. So I break down every single paragraph of the trust so you can understand what's inside of the trust. I need you to learn the contents of the trust so you know how to operate the trust, okay? And then after that, I show you how to set it up, and then we dive into Q&A. On Tuesday, we show you how to set up the private family trust. So I break down every single paragraph, and then we dive into Q&A. On Wednesday, I show you guys how to set up the nonprofit tax exempt trust, and then we dive into Q&A. And then I also show you guys how to become ordained ministers if you want to run it like a ministry. On Thursday, I show you how to get your EINs with the IRS so that you can go get your bank accounts. I give you a list of the bank accounts and show you, we go through banking procedures so you know how to operate and navigate through that space. And then from there, our funding specialist comes in and he's going to teach you about business credit and business funding so that you can leverage OPM. It's time for you to get the bank's money, okay? And then Friday is the very last day. So on Friday, what we do is I show you how to transfer your assets into the trust. So I show you step by step how to place your house into the trust, okay? So that means that we go through the quick claim deed, how to record it with the county recorder's office. Then your vehicle, so we go through the bill of sale and how to record it with the DMV. And then your businesses, so we go through the business purchase agreement and then the amendment to the articles of organization and incorporation. And then the last thing is one of our educators is a CPA, and he comes in and he teaches you about taxes with the trust and about the 1041 form, okay, and answers all of your trust tax questions, okay. And so that is the workshop. The workshop is from 11 in the morning to 2 p.m. in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. And the next workshop is September 29th to October 3rd, okay? You do get lifetime access to the workshops. So every time we do it, every single month, you get access to it. And you still get access to the course, to the resources, ebooks, Facebook community, and Telegram chat, okay? So the workshop is only $2,500. And then the last option is done for you, where we set up this entire process for you. You don't have to do it yourself. So that means that we establish the 3 trusts for you, apply for your EINs, and we transfer all of your assets. You get individualized support. So me and my team work with you individually. We learn about your entire structure, and we get you restructured with the business trust, family trust, and the nonprofit. And you get to customize your trust, and you get that sense of security to where we hold you accountable, hold your hand through the process, and you get that sense of security to know that your trusts are done correctly. So for the done for you, it's only $7,500, okay? So for actually, what I will tell you guys is I'm gonna show you what the course looks like, and I'm also gonna show you what a trust looks like. But what I want to tell you is that up until midnight tonight, you can enjoy 40% off, okay? My computer is about to, battery is low. So, in the next 4 hours, so you guys have 4 hours to enjoy 40% off of the prices that you see on the screen here. And all you have to do is go to wealthytrustee.com. So the link is in the chat, and then the discount code is trust40, okay, if you want to enjoy 40% off, okay? So let me show you what the, let's see here. Let me show you what a trust looks like. So this is what the trust looks like. This is what one of our templates looks like. So everything that you see in red is what you're going to be customizing for your organization, okay? And we show you step by step how to actually fill this out, okay? So let me show you what the actual course looks like. So this is the course. So here we have the first section, which is trust entity. So we teach you what is a trust, the different parties, meaning the grantor, trustee, beneficiaries, successors, protectors, the different types of trust. Then we go into the tax exempt trust. So we go through the declaration, the articles, the bylaws, show you how to get your EIN. Then we go through the family trust and we go through those declarations and bylaws and show you how to get your EIN. And then we go through the business trust. We show you how to set up your indentures. And then we go through tax strategies so that you can learn how to operate tax exempt with that type of trust and the differences between the three different types of trust. And so you can learn what distributable net income is and how to avoid tax abuse, okay? And then we go right into asset protection. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to take an inventory of your assets so you know which assets qualify to go inside the trust and which assets don't. And then we teach you how to open up your bank account, your brokerage account, how to transfer your house, your cars, your insurance policies, your businesses, and how to have board meetings. Do you know how many people are running organizations and never had a board meeting? Right? And then we go into wealth creation. So we teach you how to build business credit for the trust. We teach you how to invest in trust funds and get a brokerage account and a cash management account, and then how to do infinite banking with the life insurance policies, about the legacy crest, and then your resources and your ebooks. So that is the program. And as I mentioned, you can go to our website. So you should see it inside of the chat. Yep, you should see it inside of the chat, wealthytrustee.com, and then the discount. So I want to open up the floor for Q&A so that I can answer any questions that you guys might have based off of the information that we went over today. So do you guys have any questions?
Yes, I do have a question. With the faith-based organization, do you have to uh, be ordained a minister for that, or can you do it being a priest in the African traditional religion?
Yeah, you do not have to be ordained. It is just something that we show you if you want to go. So it's optional.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you for that great question. All right. Anyone else have any other questions?
I just have one question. Could you give out the definition to the DSCR again? Because I didn't quite catch that.
Debt service coverage ratio.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'm trying to see how I can say this without confusing everybody, myself. So if the business trust is going to be the holding company for the LLCs and the family trust, and the family trust is still its own entity with beneficiaries and it's irrevocable, is it still protected under the vault of the business trust if it's one of the um it could be the it's owned by the business trust, the family
It's not.
trust.
It's not
Oh,
owned. So nobody owns a trust. So the business
okay,
trust owns an LLC because an LLC has an owner. There is no owner for a trust.
okay. So the
Yes. So you
family
only
living
have
trust, just whoever designates that as trustee, who's ever designated as the family living trust, that could also be the same person that is the trustee manager over the business trust, correct?
correct.
Those two trustees can be the same.
Yes.
And it doesn't weaken the family living trust because the trustee is a person, because it's inside the irrevocable business trust. Is that
That,
correct?
yes. Yes, that is correct. These are separate entities.
But I'm still concerned that if I'm trying to go and correct my LLC so that it doesn't show me as owner or my living trust as the owner, when I change title, they're going to see, say, my ABC legacy, but all of that still remains the same until the change. So it'll just look like it got sold or something to the public eye. Because I'm not
Correct.
changing the address, but I am changing the address with the with the business trust to an anonymous address, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Hello, Christina. Can you
Yes.
hear me okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Go
Yes.
ahead. You okay?
No, that's okay. You go first and then I'll just go next.
Okay, thanks. The questions, I had a few of those. It was kind of along the lines of young lady that just spoke. But first, I have to say I'm very excited to be a part of this community. I'm with the DIY program, new member here. And I just want to say I appreciate you being consistent, Miss Christina, and being present, because you are making a big impact for those like myself out here seeking to make a change and make a difference now that we know better. Okay, had to get it off my chest. So greatly appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So, so I don't mess this up. So my question is, the three trust setup, we have the business trust the family trust is 100% beneficiary of the business trust. So my question is, can the grantor of the business trust also be a beneficiary of that family trust?
Of the family trust, that's not a problem. These are separate entities.
Okay.
So the
Just,
grantor has irrevocability only for the business trust.
yes. Perfect. Okay. Next question is there an age requirement when you're forming your board of trustees?
So they do have to be adults, at least 18 years or older.
Okay, and required to be at least 3, right?
You can change that if you want to. So if you want your board to consist of 2 or 4 or 5, you can make those appropriate changes.
Okay. Okay, so then when it comes to transferring our assets, particularly our home, we are dealing with irrevocable trust. So how do we, or should we be concerned about the due on sale clause with
So
our lender?
yeah, you're protected from the due on sale clause. So with the Garn Saint Germain Act, it is totally legal for you to be able to deed your property over into a trust. And it actually prevents the mortgage company from exercising the acceleration clause, which is the due on sale clause. So the due on sale clause is where you sell your home to someone else and the mortgage company has the right to call the loan due. So in this scenario, when you are actually gifting your property to a trust, you are not selling it to someone else. So your due on sale clause will only be triggered if you were to transfer your property from your personal name into someone else's personal name or from your personal name into a business. It does not get triggered if you transfer the property from your personal name into a trust.
Okay, great. I've heard it referred to when talking about revocable, but didn't know the Saint Germain applied to both. So thank you for clarifying that. Cool.
You're welcome.
Last question. Where can I find Telegram chat or the Telegram group?
Where can you find it?
Yes, I've gotten access to the Facebook group, but I haven't seen the Telegram group.
It's in your email, but if you send us a text
Oh,
message, Ivy will be able to send it right to you.
perfect. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, next.
All right. Hi, Christina. It's nice to
Hi,
meet you. My
how
name
are you?
is Aisha.
Hi, Aisha. Nice to meet
Hi.
you.
So I also want to tell you thank you so much for your wealth of knowledge. Like this has been a true blessing for myself and my husband, and it's going to be for our family. They just don't even know it yet. Um,
That's
so
awesome.
yes, I'm definitely going to be doing the second. You have the 3 different programs, the second program, the Do It With You. I'm going to be doing that one. But I do
Awesome.
have a question. So I don't currently own a business. You know, I'm a W-2 employee. My husband and I, we drive trucks together. And I was just wondering if this 3 trust strategy would work for us, like especially like with one of them being the business trust. Like, is that still, would that still be like a structure for us having those 3 trusts set up like that? Because we do
Yeah.
plan on it for having a business.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys are W-2 or 1099?
W-2.
W-2, okay. So, with the business trust, it is primarily for businesses or investments. So if you guys have any current investments, then you can have those investments be owned by the business trust. But if not, it just because you mentioned that you plan on having a business in the future, this could be your stepping stone towards that, to where you might even want to consider not even going down the route of opening up an LLC and just forming the business trust and start operating your business within the business trust. So I would still tell you, yes, establish it. And then when you're ready to operate it, it's already going to be available for you to operate.
Okay, so thank you for that answer. And then with our W-2, no, with our paychecks, right? We would be putting our money into the family trust to, like, how would our situation work? Like, where would we be
Yeah.
putting money into? Mhm.
Yes, you can put money into the you will be putting money into the family trust. And so we'll show you like how to document those transfers. And then you can also put money into the nonprofit if you want to as
Okay.
well, so that you can write it off. So for
Yes.
like, yeah, so you can write it off, and then with the nonprofit, you're able to either take out loans, or you're able to acquire assets with the money that you have in the nonprofit. So typically, yeah, that's what that's what you'll do.
Okay. Thank you so much, Christina. I look forward to, being a part of more of these and, just going through the process with you.
Yes, absolutely. It's gonna be a fun ride. So I'm so glad that you're taking that leap and that we get to go down this journey together.
Yes. Thank you so much again.
You're welcome. Nice meeting you. All right. Next, does anyone have any other questions? So, um,
Yes, I do. Can I ask a quick question?
absolutely.
Yeah. What was the books that you recommended again?
So, I'll put the list back up for you. Give me 1 second.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That was it.
You're welcome.
Hello, Christina.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Sean's wife. I have a quick question regarding the irrevocable trust. I'm not sure if it was in one of your modules or somewhere else that I heard, but do you have to have more than one beneficiary for an irrevocable trust?
No, you don't have to have more than one.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Any other last questions?
I have a question.
Yes. Hey,
How do
Monique.
you, hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are
Uh,
you?
Great, and thank you for the presentation. It was amazing. My
Thank
question is, I'm interested in this, but I don't know what that means if you're still trying to figure out the whole life insurance part and having a policy that works for you for everything and those consistent premiums every month, like what that looks like holistically with the combined cost of the program running, putting money in the trust and yada yada. What is your suggestion if you're here with you get the idea and the concept and you want to move forward, but you don't know what that looks like for your life individually to be able to sustain what you're trying to do? Because I don't want to jump out there and you're not,
Yeah, we don't force you to get a life insurance policy. So if you're not ready to go down the route of like private money banking and getting a life insurance policy, you don't have to get one right now. And when it comes to you opening up a life insurance policy, you will structure it the way that you want to structure it. So if you only want to put $100 a month in there, you can. So that's like, I mean, the minimum that I've seen is like 80 to $100, usually. And so you can go as minimal as that if that's what you want. If you, so when it comes to the life insurance, really is how you structure it. That's how it's going to be established with the terms that you set. Um, so you don't have to do everything. So I don't tell people, I always tell people this takes time. This is not an overnight thing. This is not a get quick, trick or anything like that. This is not none of that. This is you setting a foundation. So before you get life insurance, you need a trust, right? So what we do is we show you how to get the trust, and then later on, it's for you to then, once you have that foundation established, you're able to do everything else. You're able to get a brokerage account with crypto. You're able to get life insurance policies and multiple policies. You're able to acquire real estate. You're able to do all those things. You're not required to do them, but you're able to do them. And you have the training, and then we have the team available for you to get it done as well. So we have real estate investors, we have funding experts, we have CPAs, we have life insurance agents, we have all of it. Did that kind of answer your question, Monique? All right, any other questions?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. Are you saying something?
I,
All right.
I'm not sure if somebody has a question. I just want to know one thing. What exactly is a K1 distribution?
Oh, so that's when you're distributing from the business into the trust or into the owner. So you're distributing. So that's typically like with an LLC or a corp, you'll do a K1 and you'll distribute money from one entity to the next entity.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. All right, guys. So we're gonna wrap it
Hi.
up for
Oh,
today.
oh,
Oh
sorry.
yeah. Go
Hi,
ahead, go
Christina.
ahead, go ahead.
Sorry. Can you
Go
hear? Oh,
ahead.
okay. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you for what you do. I'm really grateful. I do have, I'm been interested, in joining. I do have two, questions.
Yes, sir.
Uh, th- Thank you. The first one is, um, for all these three, irrevocable trusts, do we need grantor for all of them, or can it be the just trustee and beneficiary?
They do need a grantor because the two parties that are going to execute the trust is the grantor and the trustee.
Ah, I see. and they cannot be the same person. Is that correct, Christina?
Yes, that's correct.
I see. And the grantor doesn't have to be the person that has the originator of the asset per se, right? Meaning that
Correct.
it can,
Correct.
I see.
Yeah,
So it can be anybody.
Anyone can add assets into the trust. Like if you want it to be your mom, your dad, your neighbor, your college buddy, whoever, as long as the trustee accepts those assets, they can be transferred into the trust.
I see. So in this case, the grantor can be anybody as well, as because the asset can come from anybody anyway.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question is when you kindly share about the I think the insurance, the trust is going to take care of the trustee and the beneficiaries and baby 30 years old. Are you referring to the family trust, or can it be the FBO, or is that the business trust?
Yeah, that's a good question. It could be any one of the trusts because all of the trusts are designed to take out life insurance policies on the key people that are operating the trust and benefiting from the trust. But typically the way that we structure it is for it to be the family trust because the beneficiaries, which are your children, those your children are only going to be listed as beneficiaries on the family trust, not on the FBO, not on the business. So typically we'll hold all of the life insurance policies in the family trust.
I see. Understand now. And sorry, a follow-up questions after that is, um, obviously once the beneficiary grow older, 18 years old, I think you kindly suggested that everybody should have a trust after 18 years old. In this case, is it possible the beneficiary of the family trust who's underage but now is over age, if you will, should they build a trust and make the beneficiary of the family trust as their trust per se, or so that they don't get any kind of probate? So kind of continue building it. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, yes. So yes, you should have another trust, which we call a subtrust, and it should be your children's trust. So they should have their own trust, and their trust is the beneficiary of your trust. Yes, of the family trust. Absolutely.
I see. Thank you so much, Christina. I
You're
appreciate you.
so welcome. Thank you for asking those really good questions. All right. Any other questions before we shut it down for this evening? All right. All I want to say
Christina,
is yes, ma'am.
oh, I just wanted to say thank you again for that 40% off. I'm already, I done got it. Like I'm excited, and I just want to thank you so much. So
You are
excited to get
so
this started for the
welcome.
family.
Thank you. You are so welcome. I'm so glad too. I'm excited so much that you decided to take that leap of faith. So congratulations and welcome into the Wealthy Trustee community. So
Thank
and
you.
you're welcome. So I just want people to have access to this information. I also want it to be affordable. And so that's why my team and I decided to do a flash sale. Unfortunately, it does end at midnight tonight. So if you're able to go ahead and participate, that will be awesome. Another thing that we have is if you are not able to, but you want to put a deposit down to hold your spot for the 40% off, you can also do that as well. So Ivy will be able to give you that link for the deposit. If you guys are unable to pay in full, but you want to put down a deposit. So with that being said, I just want to remind you that our next workshop is September 29th to October 3rd. We're going to hit the ground running. So I hope to see all of you guys in the workshop. And I just want to say take action on the information, because this is going to change the trajectory of your family's lives, of your children's lives, of your kids' lives. And some of us, we're in the middle as well, to where we have our kids and our family, but then we also have to attend to our parents as well. And so you guys are the generational curse breakers in your family. I know that without a shadow of a doubt, because that's the only people that I attract within my sphere is generational curse breakers, because I'm one, so I know you're one. So just keep going, because what you're doing for your family, like I said, is very powerful. Your children are now going to be raised as trustees, right? That they're going to train them to be trustees, right? Our children, they can't take over our 9 to 5 job, but they can take over the trust, right? And so it is our duty to leave a legacy. It goes back to biblical times. So with that being said, I just want to say thank you for everyone who attended the call, and those of you guys that stayed until the very end. And if you guys have any questions, you can give us a call, you can email us, and we'll be able to assist you or answer any and all questions that you guys might have. So without further ado, you guys have an amazing weekend, and I will see you guys soon. God bless.
God
Thank
Bye.
bless.
you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much.